The lobster is a creature built for endurance, not elegance. It does not glide through the water with effortless grace, nor does it rely on speed to escape danger. Instead, it walks the ocean floor like an ancient machine, wrapped in armor, guided by instinct, and shaped by a world where survival belongs to those who can withstand pressure, darkness, and time itself. Long before humans explored the oceans, long before fish developed complex schooling behaviors, lobsters and their ancestors were already mastering the seafloor. Their evolutionary lineage stretches back hundreds of millions of years to a period when marine life was experimenting with form and function at a brutal pace. While many ancient species vanished, the lobster endured by embracing a simple but effective strategy: protect the body, specialize the limbs, and let time do the rest. The most defining feature of the lobster is its exoskeleton. This rigid outer shell functions as both shield and prison. Made primarily of chitin reinforced with calcium carbonate, the shell protects the lobster from predators, abrasion, and environmental stress. It is tough enough to resist crushing forces, yet flexible at the joints, allowing controlled movement. Every ridge, spine, and groove serves a purpose, channeling force away from vulnerable areas. But this armor comes at a cost. The lobster cannot grow continuously. Instead, it must periodically shed its shell in a process known as molting. During this brief and dangerous phase, the lobster becomes soft, fragile, and exposed. Predators that normally cannot harm it suddenly pose a lethal threat. To survive, the lobster retreats into crevices and burrows, relying on timing and concealment rather than strength. Once the old shell is discarded, a new one begins to harden beneath it. Minerals are absorbed, structure forms, and within days or weeks, the lobster regains its armored form, larger than before. This cycle repeats throughout its life, allowing lobsters to grow slowly but continuously, unlike most animals whose growth stops at adulthood. The lobster's claws are tools of specialization. In many species, the two claws serve different functions. One is a crusher, thick and powerful, designed to break shells and crush hard prey. The other is a cutter, sharper and faster, used to slice and grip. This asymmetry allows the lobster to handle a wide range of food sources, from hard-shelled mollusks to soft-bodied organisms. Movement is deliberate. Lobsters do not waste energy. They walk along the seafloor using jointed legs that provide stability rather than speed. When threatened, however, they can perform sudden tail flips, propelling themselves backward in explosive bursts that create distance from danger. This escape response is reflexive, triggered by sensory input processed almost instantaneously by a decentralized nervous system. The lobster's sensory world is rich, though very different from that of humans. Vision plays a limited role. Lobster eyes are adapted to low-light environments, capable of detecting movement but not fine detail. Instead, chemical sensing dominates. Antennae constantly sample the water, detecting traces of food, predators, and other lobsters. Smell is how the lobster understands its environment. Feeding behavior reflects opportunism. Lobsters are not picky eaters. They consume fish, mollusks, worms, sea urchins, plant matter, and carrion. This flexible diet is one reason for their long-term success. When prey is scarce, they scavenge. When opportunity arises, they hunt. Nothing edible is ignored. On the seafloor, lobsters are both predators and recyclers. By consuming dead and decaying matter, they help maintain the cleanliness of the marine environment. By preying on other invertebrates, they regulate population dynamics, preventing any single species from dominating the benthic ecosystem. Socially, lobsters are not communal, but they are not entirely solitary either. They occupy territories centered around shelters, rocky crevices, burrows, or artificial structures. Encounters between lobsters often involve displays of dominance, using claws and posture to establish hierarchy. Physical combat is rare but decisive. The stronger individual claims the better shelter, while the weaker retreats. Reproduction introduces another layer of complexity. Mating often occurs shortly after a female molts, when her shell is still soft. Males guard females during this vulnerable period, offering protection in exchange for mating opportunities. Fertilized eggs are carried externally by the female for months, attached beneath her tail, constantly oxygenated and cleaned. When the larvae finally hatch, they enter a completely different world. The early life of a lobster is spent drifting in open water as planktonic larvae. Here, survival is a numbers game. Predation is intense, and only a tiny fraction reach the seafloor to begin benthic life. Those that do undergo a dramatic shift, settling into the armored existence that defines adulthood. From this point forward, the lobster becomes a fixture of the ocean floor, a slow-moving constant in a dynamic system. Year after year, molt after molt, it grows, survives, and adapts. Some lobsters live far longer than once believed possible, showing no clear signs of biological aging in the traditional sense. They do not weaken predictably with time. Instead, the greatest enemy becomes the physical effort of molting itself, which grows more demanding as size increases. This peculiar relationship with aging has fascinated scientists. The lobster does not escape death, but it does not follow the same aging rules as mammals. Its cells continue to divide, its tissues regenerate, and its body remains functional until a critical failure occurs. In evolutionary terms, it is not built for a fixed lifespan. It is built to last as long as conditions allow, yet even such resilience has limits. The lobster's relationship with its environment is defined by persistence rather than dominance. It does not reshape the ocean floor, yet its constant presence influences everything around it. As a benthic organism, it lives where the sea meets stone, where currents slow, sediments settle, and life unfolds at a pace measured in seasons rather than moments. Here, the lobster becomes part of the architecture of the ecosystem itself. By occupying shelters and burrows, lobsters indirectly modify the seafloor. Their movements clear debris, their feeding redistributes organic material, and the discarded shells add calcium back into the marine system. Even in death, the lobster contributes. Its remains become food, shelter, and structure for smaller organisms. Nothing is wasted. Everything cycles. Predation pressure on lobsters is constant, especially in their early life stages. Fish, octopuses, seals, and humans all view the lobster as prey. Yet once a lobster reaches a certain size, its armored body and aggressive defense reduce the number of viable predators. Claws raised, antennae flared, posture widened, the lobster broadcasts a simple message: attacking will cost energy, injury, and risk. Many predators choose easier targets. Despite this, lobsters are not invincible. Octopuses, in particular, represent a specialized threat. With intelligence, dexterity, and the ability to bypass armor by targeting joints, octopuses can overpower even large lobsters. These encounters are rare but decisive, illustrating that in the ocean, no adaptation exists without a counter-adaptation somewhere else. The lobster's role in regulating populations extends beyond prey control. By competing with other crustaceans for shelter and food, lobsters influence which species thrive in a given area. Their dominance can suppress some populations while indirectly allowing others to expand. This cascading effect ripples through the ecosystem, shaping community structure in subtle but measurable ways. Human interaction with lobsters introduces an entirely different scale of pressure. For centuries, lobsters were abundant, often dismissed as poor food, even used as fertilizer or prison rations. This perception changed rapidly as culinary culture evolved. Demand increased. Fishing technology improved. What was once an overlooked crustacean became a global commodity. Modern lobster fisheries are among the most closely managed in the world, precisely because the animal's biology makes it vulnerable to overexploitation. Slow growth, late maturity, and reliance on specific habitats mean populations cannot rebound quickly from collapse. In response, regulations such as size limits, seasonal restrictions, and the protection of egg-bearing females have become essential. These measures reveal an important truth: the lobster can survive human interest, but only under restraint. Where management is enforced and ecosystems remain intact, lobster populations can stabilize or even recover. Where exploitation exceeds biology, collapse follows swiftly and decisively. Climate change adds another layer of uncertainty. Warming oceans alter lobster distribution, pushing populations into deeper or more northern waters. Changes in acidity threaten shell formation, making molting more difficult and increasing vulnerability during growth phases. Disease, once limited by temperature and range, begins to spread into new territories. The lobster adapts, but adaptation has limits. Still, the lobster remains one of the ocean's most resilient survivors. It has endured mass extinctions, shifting continents, ice ages, and evolutionary competition. Its design is not optimized for speed or intelligence, but for continuity. It does not rush. It does not innovate. It persists. Scientifically, the lobster challenges assumptions about aging, regeneration, and biological limits. Its ability to regrow lost limbs, maintain cellular function over extended lifespans, and operate with a decentralized nervous system makes it a subject of ongoing research. It is not immortal, but it is remarkably resistant to time. The lobster's story is not dramatic in the way of great migrations or explosive hunts. It is quieter, slower. It unfolds in darkness, among rocks, beneath currents few humans ever see. And yet, it is precisely this understated existence that has allowed the lobster to endure when others vanished. In the end, the lobster represents a different model of survival. Not conquest, not speed, not intelligence, but endurance. Armor against pressure, patience against time, adaptation without transformation. On the ocean floor, while currents shift and surface worlds change, the lobster continues to walk forward, step by deliberate step, carrying the weight of its history on its back.